They have really made careers in some ways off of playing these decks, tuning them and playing them very well. And we get to see them clash against each other where only one of them gets to continue in the tournament.
Yeah, I mean, this is truly a heavyweight battle here. We got two
Oh,
members of the MPL going at it, really playing the decks that they're kind of known to play. Brad Nelson, I know a lot has been said about him just kind of being one of the best standard players ever. But I mean, I think just anytime there's a green mid-range value deck, it's really tough to bet against Brad Nelson.
that's right. And, it is worth noting here that while we are playing historic, this is one of the decks that plays more fair Magic, as it's called, right? This is not a combo deck. This isn't trying to do something completely broken. This is a value oriented card advantage mid-range deck. And a lot of times that's what Brad ends up really shining with. But the truth is, so does Mengucci. He is really a master of these type of decks. And right now, I have to say the ball is in Brad Nelson's court. He mulliganed to 5 here, Paul.
Yeah. And
That's tough.
And yeah, I mean, taking a look at his hand, he's Fatal Push, not especially good here. Mengucci's got the Growth Spiral here to keep up. Ooh, but a really nice hit off the Uro here.
There we go. So Thoughtseize is going to be met with Growth Spiral in response, then a land on the battlefield.
2 Nissas.
Oh boy. He's like, really, dude? I'm on 5 and you got 2 Nisses, a Krasis, and a Scatter?
Yeah. So now he's
like, doesn't everybody have great hands like this all the time? I don't get it.
Yeah, and this deck, especially in game ones, just has a real tough time even just interacting with Nissa. There's a couple of gusts, and that's basically it.
Wow, so he has to take the tough road here, take away one of 2 Nisses, something that you will see players only do when they're in dire circumstances because they know that, especially given that they're legendary, it's effectively the same thing for Mengucci, meaning Brad needs to get lucky here and find a way to either get that thing out of hand before next turn or counter it.
Yeah. And take a look here. Andrea, recognizing that your life total isn't all that relevant, he could have played a Drowned Catacomb that turn, but instead chose to play the Breeding Pool instead because he has that Nissa who shakes the world and wants to just put as many forests into play as possible.
Nice. And look at this. Another Nissa off the top. Not that Brad found an answer for the current Nissa anyway.
Yeah, but actually Mengucci doesn't know what Brad has, so it looks like he's playing it a little bit more conservatively here.
Yeah.
And choosing not to fire off the Nissa.
Right. Because in some ways, going back to that subtle play from Brad, it is a bluff. Right? It's saying, I'm going to take away one Nissa. And if you're in Mengucci's seat, that would lead you to believe that your opponent has an answer for the other.
Oh,
now,
okay.
The part about it is, though, drawing the third copy means Mengucci says, okay, fine. If you have an answer for this one, I'll just throw it on the stack. And Brad can only laugh down there in the lower left part of your screen.
Yeah, the old post-combat Nissa here.
He's just laughing. He does have Fatal Push to kill the Breeding Pool, but there's a Nissa on the battlefield, and it's likely to stay there. Here comes Growth Spiral.
Oh, yeah, and that means he didn't quite have enough for the Uro there. Is
Brad going to scoop is now the question.
I mean, the chances of him coming back from this are pretty low. Like, how is he going to actually deal with this Nissa that's in play, especially now that Mengucci has untapped and has access to Essence Scatter to counter the Uro in Brad Nelson's graveyard?
Here comes Nissa applying that pressure. Another 5 damage is going to crash in, knocking Brad down to 12. And the clock is very, very real here for Brad Nelson. This game has gone horrendously for Brad. There's a Nissa who shakes the world of his own. Is that a way out? He can...
Yeah, I mean, he can play it, animate a land, and with what's on the battlefield, he won't lose his Nissa. Of course, Brad doesn't know that Mengucci has Nissa number 3 in hand, so if Mengucci wants to deal with the Nissa, he can, by just animating a land and playing the other Nissa and then attacking the Nissa down.
Right. Wouldn't be surprised to see it here. Getting the opposing Nissa off the battlefield is of prime concern here to Mengucci, as you got to start thinking about ways that Brad could work his way back into this game. And you see
He's waiting for the Nissa to concede.
once that Nissa goes on the stack, Brad is going to scoop him up, and that's it. Game number 1 goes to Andrea Mengucci. Really a disaster for Nelson there, as he mulliganed to 5, and then even the subtleties went wrong for him. Like, I really want to know. So Brad Thoughtseize takes away Nissa, passes the turn. Mengucci, if he hadn't have drawn the additional copy of Nissa, would we have seen him not cast it there, assuming that Brad had an answer? That's what I'm curious about. But the third copy just says, well, you can just cast one now, it'll get countered or gusted or whatever, and then you can cast another one the next turn.
Yeah, the thing is, because both players, just taking a look at their list, they clearly tested with each other, as they have the exact same 75 card configuration. If you look at their list, there really is no hard counter to a Nissa game 1. There's 2 Ether Gusts, they have Essence Scatter, which doesn't deal with it, and neither player, I believe, are playing Mythos of Nithroid in the main as well. So in the matchup, you can just run out Nissa. The worst case scenario is they just gust it, right? And then you can just try to play it again on the following turn.
Wow. So really thin there for Brad Nelson as far as his way to get out of that mess.
Right.
Well, that is one of the good here for Andrea Mengucci. Let's see if Brad has a better. He mulliganed again. Boy, he is just not running well today.
Yeah, he had a 2-lander.
Yeah, yeah,
2-lander, but
okay. Yeah, I mean, you can survive. You know, mulliganing to 6 isn't the end of the world here for Nelson, but boy, you know, he's really hoping to just have that perfect opening draw, and he's yet to see it or anything near it. I don't think Mengucci's ever mulliganed a hand in his life. He's just going to play a land, pass the turn back. Thoughtseize off the top, though, for Nelson.
Ooh, this is a nice sequence here, too, because you can run out Uro, play the Fabled Passage, get a Swamp, then play Thoughtseize.
Beautiful. All right. Finds another Uro.
Now, Mengucci does have the negate, which I imagine he's going to be firing it off here. As information is extremely important in this matchup, and negate, it's a likely card he would have taken anyways.
That's right. So there's negate, sort of a forced negate there.
Oh man!
And Narset off the top of the library. I'm telling you, this guy.
Man.
There's a Narset.
That's so good.
He's like, how is this possible?
Negate your Thoughtseize into Narset, and it shuts off Brad's entire hand.
Unbelievable.
Look at this.
Look at
Uros and Hydra Crazies.
He has Uro in the yard, Uro in the hand, and 2 Crazies, and now they don't do hardly anything.
And I believe he put Eliminate on the bottom, right? When he had the 7. Oh!
Hey. Right back in it, Brad. Finds Eliminate off the top of the deck, and that'll allow him to deal with Narset straight away. Now, it does look like that's all he gets to do for the turn, but still, he'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big problem. He's still down on the exchange overall, but I mean, you got to start somewhere, and that was a step in the right direction.
Mengucci's got a pair of Growth Spirals plus a Plains to play. He can definitely try to set up for Nissa next turn, especially since Brad is just going to run out of Krasis here for 3, get a card back, and at least get something on the battlefield. Okay, and it's an island going into hand here for Nelson, but here we go. Growth Spiral into Growth Spiral, and then that could produce a Nissa who shakes the world next turn here for Mengucci.
Oh,
he drew Thoughtseize in there too?
Wow.
Now, he doesn't have a second green source and the black source, right? Oh, no, he does. He absolutely does. Oh, God.
Yeah, so he's going to take the Hydra Krasis out of Brad Nelson's hand and also slam a Nissa, animate a land, and then next turn, he's going to have access to a ton of mana.
Yeah, we can't count that high. And he could go for a big shark to take care of that Hydra Krasis, and the world will be at his fingertips. Here's Thoughtseize. Hydra Krasis is going to hit the bin. Brad can only sit back and observe as he has no mana available. And there's Nissa. And Brad is just like, what was I ever supposed to do this match? This has been a thumping at the hands of Andrea Mengucci. Animates the planes, sends it into the red zone. Brad's going to go ahead and trade off. But he's facing down a Nissa. This reminds you just of game number 1. It's the same thing. Thoughtsy's too late here.
Not bad. And I think the reason why Brad blocked is because he wanted to make sure he had enough cards to escape Uro out of the graveyard. I would imagine that this put exactly enough cards, and it did.
It did, Paul. That's a good call. And now we get to see Uro and Thoughtsy's, but this has not solved the Nissa problem just yet.
Right, but he's got an Uro now in play.
Mm-hmm.
And now he can Thoughtseize away the Shark Typhoon. I imagine he's going to be taking that as with all that mana, Andrea Mengucci would be able to make a gigantic Shark token here. So Shark Typhoon 100% going into the bin. And then, I mean, Mengucci, I mean, sure, he can make a 3/3, maybe a pair of 3/3s, but those would probably just be trading with this. Well.
Is this guy for real?
Oh my goodness.
Stone Cold rips the lemonade off the top of the library to maintain that Nissa advantage.
Jeez.
And once again, Brad can only look on from his home in Renton, Washington.
And Brad only has 1 card in graveyard now, so he's pretty far away.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to need to find an answer. Mengucci at this point just debating whether or not he just wants to run out Nissa number 2 and then just put 6 points of hasty damage in play right now. Again, Brad Nelson, even after sideboard, does not have a hard removal spell to deal with a Nissa that's in play, just Ether Gust.
Mengucci's going to play it a little slower here. There's a negate. Where you been all my life, says Brad Nelson. Now he gets to go for Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath here to try to find something to get going. Let's see what he can find. It's a land.
Nope.
So he'll play that, have negate up, but in the meantime, Nissa is going to run roughshod over this board, and Brad Nelson's life total, it'll be 6 damage coming in here.
Yeah, Brad really wants like a Hydrate Crisis here off the top.
Right.
Keep these lands in check and also try to pressure this Nissa.
Oh, it's another land, a fabled passage for Nelson.
And I think Mengucci may potentially go for a Nissa ultimate here.
Yeah, with another Nissa in hand, that's got to be tempting.
And Brad just got 1 card in hand, and if you do go for the ultimate, I mean, you're putting a ton of lands onto the battlefield, thinning out your deck, having a tremendous mana advantage, and again, you have that follow-up Nissa. Now, if you do go for the emblem, though, and your Nissa gets tired, all of a sudden, you just don't have Nissa anymore in play.
All right, well, there it is. We do see the ultimate. Kind of interesting play here from Mengucci, and maybe the best case for Brad. I know it doesn't seem like it because Nissa, the ultimate is very powerful and will clear away a lot of the lands and set up a potential winning situation. But Brad actually has...
What's that in his hand?
Is that a Jace?
I can't tell.
I don't know.
I just see a sad Brad. Now there's 2 indestructible 3/3 lands in play. Even if he escapes Uro, it's just going to get gobbled up by these 2 animated indestructible islands that are in play.
Looks like it was a Nissa in hand there. So there we go. Negate on the Nissa, and now it is just the 6 power left over. You know, if Mengucci draws 3 lands in a row, is there a possible... I mean, it seemed impossible a turn ago. Here's the Triome.
I mean, if Brad Nelson draws a Hydrate Crisis, he's still in this, right? Like, a Hydrate Crisis would just be like gigantic here.
Mengucci goes for the ultimate, but gets the other one countered, and now is down to 6 power on the board with nothing else going. Crisis for Brad? Just the once, he says?
Yeah, Nissa would not be especially good, as Mengucci's lands are indestructible.
That's right.
Brad going for the little deck thinning here.
You do what you got to do, Mo.
You gotta do what you got to do.
9, and it's a Shark Typhoon.
Wow.
That's actually kind of
big.
business.
And he can make it exactly a 7/7, which also prevents Mengucci from being able to attack profitably with an Uro that he could potentially draw off the top here.
Huh. That has to be second place on best cards he can find here.
Oh,
He's just
definitely.
back, and there's a land
Oh,
off
that's not.
Mengucci.
Mengucci
Remember,
got all the forest out of his deck.
yes, that's what I was going to say, Paul. He has lands that are still in the list. They're just all the non-forests. And there
Can
we
Brad
go.
claw back?
7-7. Now he found another Triumph. Soak up 3. Uh-oh, Mengucci just shook his head. He's like, is this falling apart? Should I have not ultimated here? Now
and this is an Uro.
Nature's Wrath come down. Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Mengucci has nothing.
Very interesting. It's an Ether,
wow,
which could come in handy.
Wow.
Zagoth Triumph that he can cycle.
Now Mengucci is the one who needs Hydrocrisis off the top.
Seriously, now if he does, he's got so many lands on the battlefield, it would be completely absurd. And there's Nissa. Let's see what Mengucci finds. It's Eliminate.
Okay, that does deal with Uro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that deals with Uro, and he can get in for 6.
Still,
so that's big. That'll put Brad down to 3. Brad contemplating Ether Gusting his own Uro just because he's in a racing situation right now with those lands, and he's got that 7/7 Shark token in play.
That's right. Also gets another card in the yard for Uro down the line. It just has a bunch of small advantages, but he says, I can still do Uro and play Nissa. I'm going to go for that. Draws
now
Uro.
Mengucci needs to find an answer for the Shark.
He does. This is incredible stuff. Here comes Nissa. Remember, the Uro life gain is going to be relevant here potentially, as Brad will only need 1 blocker rather than 2. There's a growth spiral.
Okay.
Sure. Get more cards into the yard. There's a Triumph. Probably doesn't want to put that onto the battlefield.
Can cycle still.
So does he just go for it here? Make a thing, attack for 7, and say, just don't kill my land?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's kind of what you can go. I mean, the thing is, he can also cycle for a little more information here to see what he wants to do.
It's just awkward because he would float a mana if he did. And there it is, the Shark getting in. It's going to knock Mengucci down to 2, and Mengucci
eliminate. Mengucci needs eliminate or Nissa.
Breeding pool.
Eliminate or Nissa off the top, and that's the game.
And it's a fatal passage.
Brad Nelson's taking
to draw all lands here after that.
How did he come back?
Possible. An easy block here from Brad Nelson. He's going to fall down to 3, but he has a lethal Shark in the air.
Oh my goodness. And I'm sure Andrea has to be thinking, oh my goodness.
Ultimate was absolutely decisive in this game. It completely backfired on Mengucci as his second copy of Nissa ended up getting countered, and that left him with just the 2 3/3s. And somehow, some way, Brad Nelson has been able to stay alive through that. That Shark off the top was massive.
So big.
And he's good to go. He can even Thoughtseize just to make sure.
Yeah, he can Thoughtseize to make sure. I mean, he's going to lose anyways. He's probably going to lose anyways if there's a big Shark Typhoon in Andrea Mengucci's hand. But,
right.
you know.
The difference between 3 and 1 here isn't significant as the creatures all have it. And there's good news and a big smile from Brad Nelson. He says, got him, and picks up the win. And
jeez,
how did he find a win there? He needed everything to go well for like the second half of that game, and it did.
Yeah, it started off so horribly for him. Mengucci with the negate into the Narset. Brad needed an answer. Eliminate off the top. Mengucci then goes for the ultimate into another Nissa. Brad has a counterspell, but Brad is still in trouble. Needs to find either Shark Typhoon or Hydrocrisis. Got there, and then Andrea Mengucci was just out of gas. He somehow found a way to still draw more lands despite removing all the force out of his deck. And you saw a little bit of a head shake there from Andrea. So he's going to need to get his head back into the game. But I'm sure he's thinking to himself, what if I had just not emblemed, waited a turn, and emblemed on the following turn to make sure that I still had that Nissa in play in case Brad has a counterspell.
Right, and plus, of course, you just get more pressure on Brad that turn. The emblem is not making a 3/3 as well. and it punished Mengucci. We've got a game 3 decider between these two coming up right after these messages.
Biggest challenge in the historic format is trying to figure out how am I going to get experience with and against all these different decks that could come out.
It's the fact that I haven't practiced it at all, so.
Game flow, like understanding how some decks can come out and try to kill you so quickly.
Card pool is huge. There's a ton of different strategies, a lot of ways to lose. You got to navigate through all that.
You have to be super proactive, I feel like, in the format.
Porque la verdad es que es tanta la variedad de mazos y estrategias que es muy difícil tratar de reaccionar a todo lo que pueden hacer los potenciales rivales.
So you have to be prepared to play these games where you're playing on like a 3-turn timeline, and then other games where the games can go 15, 20 turns.
Knowing what cards are legal. Did you know that Riptide Laboratory is a legal card?
The biggest challenge in playing historic format is getting your sideboard right. There are so many strategies that it's not easy to pinpoint which 15 cards you need.
It's just predicting what other people are going to play. Because you can build your deck to beat anything that you want, depending on what you're playing.
As a pro player preparing for an event, you try to get comfortable with what's going to happen, what strategies work, what are the counter strategies. It's really hard when there's this many decks that are potentially viable.
There is a lot of different decks and nothing beats everything, so you kind of just got to pick what you want to lose to and hope that's the right deck to lose to for the week.
And if you're wrong, then that can be very, very bad for you. If you're right, you hit the jackpot.
The threats are just so good that there's just no point to do anything besides cat oven or maybe some auras or big mocks. And the hardest thing to deal with has got to be
not hitting any goblins off of my Muxless.
Whenever I cast them on turn 3, I just hit Wily Goblin. And what does my opponent hit? 3 Chieftains and a Kranko, obviously.
Goblins and Sultan. I need to find a deck that beats both.
To use my wits.
The biggest challenge in the historic format for me? Avoiding putting unnecessary Ulamox, the Ceaseless Hangers, into my deck. I do that a lot.
And welcome back to coverage here at the ZNR Rising Championship. Whew, everybody take a deep breath. Marshall Sutcliffe with Paul Cheon. What a thriller of a game 2. Everything looked like it was in Andrea Mengucci's hands, and then it just fell apart. He had a big decision on whether to ultimate Nissa or whether to keep plussing. He decided to go for the ultimate, and the unlikely happened from there. Not only did Brad have the answer for the second follow-up Nissa, but on top of that, somehow Mengucci flooded out after taking every forest out of his entire library, and it ended up being a Shark Typhoon off the top that got the job done for Brad Nelson. Game number 3, though, between these players. Let's focus in on this and see who gets to keep playing in our top 8 and who's going home.
Yeah, I mean, that Shark Typhoon, just wow, right? I mean, just allowed him to survive and then just put Andrea on a clock, and he just simply couldn't find an answer. So that was such a huge turnaround. What? So I see a growth spiral. It looks like Andrea Mengucci took a growth spiral with the Thoughtseize, and then Brad just drew another growth spiral.
Yeah, just had another one there. So he's got 3 breeding pools on the battlefield now. Not much to do this turn, though. He can just play a swamp and pass, but he has double Nissa as well as an Ether Gust at the ready.
Yeah, but unlikely to just slam Nissa next turn, as it's an absolute disaster if you're the one who goes Nissa, get it countered, and then your opponent plays their Nissa, untap, and keep up negate backup. So I think you're going to see Brad choose to play it a little patient here, run out of land maybe, cycle, make sure he has access to counter magic for a potential Nissa on the other side. Now, what's cool for Andrea Mengucci, same thing. I don't think he's going to run out Nissa, but now with the growth spiral, I think he's going to want to run out Narset potentially here with negate backup.
That's right. As we can see, Narset will resolve, and then the negate can hold back a Nissa. Now, remember, Andrea knows about one of the Nissas in hand here for Nelson as well.
Yeah, the only thing with Nissa is you have to be mindful of a potential Shark Typhoon from Brad Nelson, but that would not kill the Narset. It would bring it down to 1. Thoughtseize would be a really nice one. And there you go.
Hey, nice call, Paul. That's how you do. You do that when you play too, or?
Yeah, I just think about the best case scenarios and also the worst case scenarios all the time.
You should start focusing on that best case scenario as much as you can, because it's working out for you here. There's Thoughtseize on the stack now. So the information is revealed. There's 2 copies of Nissa in hand.
Oh, wow. So Andrea wanting to be more proactive here, taking the Ether Gust away from Brad Nelson's hand. And by doing so, now he knows that the coast may be clear to run out Nissa.
Well, I guess Brad's job is straightforward here. Just start running Nissa, who shakes the world, out there turn after turn.
Yeah, but I mean, that's his only play. I mean, he knows.
Play, but it's not where he wants to be.
No, absolutely not.
Because now Andrea Mengucci gets to be the one with the huge advantage here. Nissa,
oh
who
my
shakes the world.
goodness.
Wow, another Thoughtseize too. How about another one?
Yeah, just Thoughtseize, Nissa, you have nothing, go.
Just do all of it.
Counterspell would also be pretty good.
Eliminate was what was drawn.
Now, Mengucci doesn't know about Nissa number 3.
Not yet. He's going to find out real quick here, though. There's Thoughtseize on the stack. Well, makes that decision easy. Take away one of the Nissas. Play your own Nissa. And can he leave up Eliminate here, Paul? It looks like he can.
Yeah, just activate the Triome here, attack, and still have up the Eliminate. And he's got that 3/3 to protect his Planeswalkers in addition to that Eliminate. However, Brad does know about the Eliminate.
True.
But Brad has a lot that he's fighting against right now. He drew an Uro, but it's not going to be able to draw him cards with that Narset that's on the other side. And given that he knows about the Eliminate, probably not in his best interest to just try to put out a 6/6 if he can. So it looks like playing out a Nissa just might be his only play here.
And that is not a great position to be in. That land is going to get eliminated. And then your Nissa is going to get swarmed by 2 lands from the other side. What a dismal position once again for Brad Nelson. Now, he found his way out of it in game number 2. Paul, I got to say, it's going to be really difficult to find his way out of this spot already here in game 3.
Yeah, because if he plays Nissa and makes a token, Mengucci can then eliminate the token, then animate his own land, and then just kill Nissa. And then Brad's just on nothing, right?
Right.
He's got an Uro that he can't draw cards with. At least, he's doing the heads up thing here of animating the Fabled Passage because he knows it's getting eliminated. So by doing this, he can actually sacrifice the Fabled Passage in response to it and eliminate to find lands, which is something. But again, he's going to need to be able to deal with multiple threats right now.
Right. I respect the small edges. I think that a lot of games come down to that. I do not believe that this will be one of those games, as the advantage is huge here for Mengucci with the 2 Planeswalkers and an Uro in hand.
Right. And I mean, he's cast a few Thoughtseizes with the Eliminate here. Again, has got to be super close. And it looks like Brad's already
Brad's going to scoop
calling
him up
it.
Here. And it's really kind of hard to blame him.
Right.
He is so far behind. Okay, now he's just spamming good game.
We've seen him do this before. I believe
Maybe
it was the finals against
Mengucci to give him a
Lagowski.
good game back.
Yeah, maybe.
And that's going to do it. Andrea Mengucci, look, big time drama in the first couple of games. The third game, no drama whatsoever. Andrea Mengucci dispatches Brad Nelson and moves on in that bracket. That's going to be the end of the road.